Welcome back to Out of the Closet. Typically, I like to memorize my pieces of work, like I don't know. I would sit down with a piece of work, like what I have here, which is a letter to a president, and I would memorize it. But in this case, this is the Thanksgiving special, and I don't really have time to memorize it, and haven't taken the time in the past. So I'm just going to read this to you, and I hope that you enjoy the Thanksgiving Day letter to a president. Dear Mr. President, can you believe it? 4 years ago, I wrote that letter, and you were getting ready for 4 more years. It feels like 10 and maybe more. And in that time, I've learned how to spell maybe. Why should baby is spelled like this, B-A-B-Y. Why should maybe be so different? To be difficult, I could suppose, like so much of the ambiguous nature of the English language. I was told by the preacher down the street that he doesn't always know what I'm trying to convey when he reads my folios, those pages of manuscript. I think he said metaphor as he tried to explain my own writing to me. I wasn't so sure what metaphor was, so I got out my dictionary to look it up. It said a figure of speech in which a word or phrase that ordinarily designates one thing is used to designate another, thus making an implicit comparison, as in the evening of life. And that may be all fine and dandy, but I have no clue what implicit means. So I look it up and find it to be as such. Implied or understood, though not directly expressed. Contained in the nature of something, though not readily apparent. Having no reservations, unquestioning, implicit trust. It gets complicated. The words can mean several things. And when there are a few of these words that can convey conflicting notions in the same sentence, then I too forget what I was trying to say. I knew right away when I began to write that I wrote oddly. The pen's ink bled onto the page in my fits of rage in a war of words. I was angry, and for the mean words I've said, I'm sorry. I never meant to be mean, but I was fighting for serene in a funky scene where subterfuge held my hand and I took a stand. Hence, the war of words. And long ago, you read a letter from John Griffin, and he told a story of life through his eyes. No one denies that he was tried, and some would claim his brain was fried. But was he denied justice? And what is justice for a sheetrocker who is losing the battle with time? My mind was toyed with in predilection, and there was no reflection of my intellect in their eyes. They couldn't hear my cries of injustice or see the bad mess a web might cause, whence I pause with room for the claws that meanders through laws to litigation. Beyond the ruckus of exhortation is the quiet mitigation, tending to a nation, and a world growing up too fast, and through space that is vast and was cast beyond the portal into the galaxy of chaos. Or something like that. Kind of science fiction. If it sounds like every other thing you've ever read, then that is all it is. But if it is a paradigm shift, who would even know it? Not me. I'm not that intelligent. I just like to write, and when people try to pick on my intellect, I like my war of words. So, not to change the subject or anything like there was one, but I hope you found some joy in the struggle to lead your nation. Many have faulted your ideals as bunk and see the new wave that will save us from a wretched past, but others see us as being cast into waves of hate on a shifting tide to the mechanism that governs over nature. And then I add binomial nomenclature, but only to give us more to reflect upon. Many will surely miss what you have stood for, and I, for one, thank you with all of my heart. I have my issues with a bowl of shark fin soup and the ivory keys of a piano playing out of key and the murder of a lion told to Zion and the rest of the world. And little by little we squeeze the life of a species to a tipping point, smoke a big fat joint and miss the point altogether, then talk about the weather like nothing has changed or been rearranged to find what matters. But when what matter woes, or how the story goes, how much is the gold worth when you can't eat the fish? And how much is the silver worth when there is no fish? And doesn't the money seem pointless when the air makes you gag? Why don't we just go all out? Go kick some ass and see what it does. Find out what rich is and how far riches will take us. Don't we already know why? I would hope so. But like me, people aren't very smart sometimes. If a toad can no longer call this place home, or the lizards can no longer tolerate the heat, how much longer can man endure? He's only an animal similar to the rest in many ways, but in many ways he is alone with his flaws in the animal kingdom. No other animal loves their money or is corrupted by the riches, and sons of bitches when slaves to the land, and what caves to the stand, when taken by the hand, they're shaken by the brand beyond the bleak or bland, when forced by command, and the fucking roof caves in. Where should I begin? When the walls are afire in an echoing din, the lungs collapse on a bridge to the end. Harsh, I know, but many have paid the price of cheap garments with their lives, and their wives or husbands never came home. Why did Mom and Dad leave us alone? We were only kids, you see, on the cusps of poverty and orphaned to the world. But here in the first world, we have our first world problems. Infrastructure woes, potholes, and interrogation tapes that leave the whole jury baffled, saying, what did they say? And of course, it is a murder trial, and a life is on the line. And what appears to be modern technology is a ruse to see just how stupid people are. Each word should be crystal clear, and each syllable audible. And if the people would like, the court could hit the effects button, and it would sound like they were in a hall, not a hallway or a studio, and all of that for $150. But what I hear is a crap, a shit sandwich, and tainted further by the court reporting that the jury is handed by the fact that the court reporter understood every word when they themselves said what? Wow, what a mess. What we do to make a good man a criminal is criminal. This is why I don't come to you with lies and bullshit. I'm guilty of tax evasion, money laundering, and insurance fraud. But I'd much rather be guilty of my crime than what these caped crusaders are culpable for, to adhere to an agenda. I did my research, and what I have found is utterly appalling. In fact, I'm cause for pause and reflection when the judge gets to look me in the eyes, knowing I read it like an open book, saying, take a look at this. I'm probably better off in prison than dealing with these criminals that rule over me as they deem and demean me to a class, but never say, kiss my ass, Mr. Griffin. But maybe they should have. And lawyers find me quite stupid. Yes, they read the book by the cover. And what they find is dumber than a box of rocks. But before I'm done with all these lawyers and judges, they wonder who the hell John Griffin is and who he works for. I spend months and months watching them work, and they wonder why. I'm there with my notebook, writing as fast as I possibly can. What's gotten into this man, and why does he make a stand in the region of our land? Does he come with a plan? And who pays the man? How can he proceed in this fashion with no ration of pay? What is at stake? Or what is his take when he visits every single courtroom in the Rock Point County Courthouse? Do any of you know the man? Oh, they know the man, but what they know is conjecture and hearsay. Good night, Mr. President. I need to get some sleep now. I've got work to do in the morning. In the morning I wake, and my take on the struggle of life is quite unique. But so, too, is each and every take on the struggle to exist. My environment is toxic, and my condition is cause for alarm. I'm tired of my battle with my condition. It has thoroughly worn me down, and the mites that eat at me are very small. When I told Dr. Goldberg they were microbial, he corrected me. Then he said I should use Dove soap to battle the bugs. He was able to surmise with his own eyes through my lies to conclude that I didn't have bugs. What I had was a condition born of something else, perhaps an addiction to heroin. He may have concluded. I had my own conclusions to make. And by the time I had gone to see the doctor, I had tried many things to battle the pestilence. I didn't know what to do. I used flea and tick shampoo. Now here it is all these months later, still infested, only wishing it was fleas and ticks. Though, as I can see, and when they move on the skin, it makes perfect sense, because they are visible. But when what moves on the skin is invisible, I am thoroughly tormented. But I don't have a lot of time to get into the bugs right now. Perhaps I will send you out the Warren files. They offer a more in-depth look into my microbial infestation. Tomorrow's Thanksgiving, and today I gave thanks. I also went down to Cape Fauntleroy and Rock Point Bay to volunteer at the St. Vincent de Paul's. I took my cousin Kinsler with me today, so he could help out a little. I try to go for a couple of days, and this year it will be Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Yesterday I took the nearly frozen turkeys and removed them from their bags in the large sink that sits against a wall in the kitchen. I pull the plastic off after I slice it open with a knife. The birds are too frozen to pull the necks out of the body cavity, so I run the warm water into the cavity and let it rest there for a while. As I do, I open up the other birds and remove the plastic. It doesn't take long for the turkeys to begin to thaw. When the neck is removed, along with the giblets, I salt the cavity lightly and then put them in a roasting bag sitting in a pan. There's a bowl of herbs on the table that I rub the bird with before I add a couple of cups of water into the bag and zip tie it closed. From there, I place it in the oven. Meanwhile, all around me people are working. Some of them are volunteers, and others are employees. Mary's my age, somewhere around 50, and she is the boss. Stephen has been to prison and, like Mary, has struggled with drugs in the past. Keith had volunteered for many years before they finally hired him last year. His many trips to the Rock Point County Jail have added up to a lot of hours of community service. Larry smiles when he sees me, and I'm not sure if he gets paid like the others, but he's always there when I show up. Then there are the volunteers, and of these there are several types. One type is first-timers, or once-a-year volunteers. Some come in several times a year, and that's what I try to do. Then there are the regulars, and they show up every week. And there's a divide that separates the sane from the insane, a line that is crossed, and when the door is open, the two mingle for a while. Not much separates the two sides, and they go back and forth according to mental capacity and the ability to withstand psychological turmoil. Mental illness is a condition, a state of the mind that normal eludes. I found what it means to know mental illness. My mind was telling me something was wrong, very wrong. I listened closely to the signs, and I found a place where I couldn't see straight, knowing I wasn't okay. I couldn't drink it away, and the smoke I was toking on a path that was broken by spoken word battling the absurd taunted me. But this time the struggle was internal, born of what I'd do to myself, to erase the worries of my world. Little by little, my habits were forced to take a back seat to my sobriety. I couldn't take the pain anymore, so I put my pipe away and just said no to the alcohol. Slowly, I began to feel better. And there were days when I started to feel normal. I didn't want much, but life began to ask me some questions. I didn't know all the answers, but I did know that I needed to stand up for myself. In the process, I got hurt several times over, but each time I've gotten back up to face my life. I've become a mystery that has perplexed my peers, facing my fears, and an enigma to behold from a story to be told. Hot and cold, big and bold, bought and sold, silver and gold, iron and fold, I'm getting old. But the war of words never ends. And when I serve lunch, I look at the dirty faces and the rotten teeth with the mannerisms of telltale signs and those long lines to get a little something to eat. And I wonder why I'm not in their shoes, living in the cold where addiction has a hold on the psyche, where every day is lost in broken dreams and there is no light at the end of the tunnel, no job, and the shower hard to come by. The idea of self-worth seldom crosses the mind, and some of the most compelling conversations have no one left to hear them. The wind howls cold over the icy slabs of concrete where people meet and discuss a place to stay. When the moon fades away under the cloudy veil before the lightning and the thunder, and all the ice-cold hail. They shiver in the dark with stark notions of what they used to be, and in reflection of life's rejection and wonder, how could this happen to me? There they sing a little song, and the weather seemed to sing along. Howling wind, hail and rain, no one alive can feel my pain. No more tears, but still I cry, just like thunder from the sky. Lightning bolts from blackened night, or with a flash I see the light. Oh, help me, Lord, I sing and pray. I just had a miserable day. Help me soar and fly so high. Help me, Lord, to kiss the sky. Where the stars, they twinkle and shine at night. Let me be a ray of light. Teach me how to fight this fight. Help me make it through the night. I just watched another day of strain. Help me, Lord, to understand this pain. Beyond the howling wind, hail and rain. And I sat there in Cape Fauntleroy, pulling turkey from the bone at a table across from my cousin, as I sat next to someone who looked like someone else I know. A friend told me there was a name for that. He called it a doppelganger. And I tried and tried to remember who he looked like, but I didn't remember. And later, when I finally did, I wasn't completely sure if I had the right match. Anyway, this morning I went back to Cape Fauntleroy to help out. It was a madhouse in there. Volunteers were everywhere. I found a few things to do, like move chairs and wash pots and pans and put them away. Then I helped mash the potatoes and put them in the warmer over a layer of steaming hot water in a double boiler. I was thankful and had a plate of food. And as I ate, I watched those around me having a meal or tending to the homeless. But not all of them are homeless. Some just like to eat their Thanksgiving dinner at St. Vincent de Paul's. And earlier that morning, when I just arrived, I was sucking on a cough drop. And I looked around at all the people sitting on the hard, cold cement slabs and wondered how many of them would like a cough drop. Almost all of them, Mr. President. Happy Thanksgiving.